Hey guys, this is Paul with VHSCollector.com, here to bring you a Blu-ray review. And today it is Anthropophagous from 88 Films on Blu-ray. This is from the UK, this release anyway. And it was available for pre-order on only the 88 Films site. They have a Shopify account and you can purchase some of their Blu-rays there. And this particular title was only available on their website. I pre-ordered this maybe 4 or 5 months ago when it first appeared there. And if you pre-ordered it soon enough, you got this cool slipcase, which features the original Video Nasty cover art, as you can see there. There's the back. The back is very dark. The text is very dark on there. Of course, it says Anthropophagous, the beast on the spine, but on this spine you get nothing. Alright, without that cool little slipcase, and I'm not really a huge crazy fan for slipcases, some people prefer to have the original slipcase on there. I pre-ordered it right away and I just happened to get it. Here is the cover art, which is their standard template art for all of their Italian collection Blu-rays, as you can see here. And also, if you pre-ordered this soon enough, you got these postcards with different titles and different cover art. So yeah, The Zombies Rage, never heard of that title. Saw that covered before, not sure where that's from. But yeah, these are, they all have nothing on the back, but they're just little interesting cards. And of course it has the reversible art with that image, of course, with the Video Nasty cover art. So you could choose this one, which of course is quite cooler, I think, than this one. So I first saw Anthropophagous quite a number of years ago when the Shriek Show DVD first came out. And that was a pretty decent release. I believe it had a, well, it didn't have a lot of features pertaining to this movie, but what it did have was part 2 of a documentary, an Italian documentary on Joe D'Amato, the director of Anthropophagous. And it also had, I think, 11-minute segment of interviews with I think maybe a writer and one of the actresses here. What's her name? Zora. I forget her last name. Who also played in Anthropophagous. The features pertaining to this movie, even on that release, were quite slim with just those interviews, but at least it had something relevant to the movie, not just the documentary on Joe D'Amato. This one has almost no features attributed to Anthropophagous. These are the features from 88 Films. We get 42nd Street Memories, the rise and fall of America's most notorious block. And then we have 3 different versions of the trailer for this. And I believe we get an alternate opening sequence, the Italian opening credit sequence, which is not actually listed in the bonus features, but I remember that it's on there. So yeah, you don't get a lot of features with this. There's no commentary track. There's no interviews. Where are these interviews? These people are still around. I mean, Anthropophagous has interviews with, Zora, I believe, on there. And, I mean, the Shriek Show DVD had interviews on there. Why are there no interviews on here? I feel like when I look at all the bonus features for these 88 Films releases, they're very lacking. Why is that? I'm looking at 88 Films catalog, all these releases that they're going to have in the future, and they actually have the features listed under the pre-order pages on Amazon, and they don't show any features. There's always a chance that they're going to make some features when that time comes, but so far it doesn't look like they're really, getting any features put together for these Blu-rays. It looks like they invested all of their money acquiring titles instead of investing all the money into a particular small pool of titles and giving fans what they really want, and that's special features. Not getting that. It doesn't seem like we're going to get that with a lot of these. I'm looking at the other Italian collection Blu-rays from 88 Films, and again, the features are lacking. Not a whole lot of features going on. Some of them have a few interviews here and there, but for the most part, they're lacking. And that's quite a disappointment. There's no excuse for that because these people are still around. You see all these other companies getting, interviews with all these people. Grindhouse is always Grindhouse Releasing is always getting interviews, tracking down these people all over the world to get interviews for Cannibal Holocaust or Cannibal Ferox or whatever. 88 Films is like, screw it. We don't need features. Not important. Maybe they'll do a commentary with a so-called expert or something. But other than that, you don't see a lot of interviews. And you're paying a lot for these. And especially if you're importing them like I am. But even if you're not, in the UK, some of these are quite expensive. But the one feature on here, the biggest feature, which is probably going to be the main reason why most people buy this, because Anthropophagous is such a terribly boring movie, is for this documentary, 42nd Street Memories, the rise and fall of America's most notorious block. Now, this is another Callum Waddell documentary, and his documentaries are just a bunch of talking heads. Not a lot of love goes into these documentaries except acquiring interviews from all these different people. The editing is very basic editing. It's just the way I think of it. They're like clip shows. So as far as a documentary is concerned, they're not very good documentaries. They're just kind of like mundane. There's not a lot of substance to them, but the content is absolutely awesome in this. And these 42nd Street memoirs, the interviews is really the highlight of it. Just hearing all these stories from that period, all these different people that they interview, it's well worth the money that anyone would have paid for this, because you just get a lot of insight for those people who weren't there, who like to think about what it might have been had they been there. You get a lot of insight from a lot of interesting people. Joe Dante is one of the interviewees, and there's a few other known names. 42nd Street Pete, I think, is there. Of course, appropriately so. Definitely cool. It's the it's weird. It shouldn't be, but it is. It's the highlight of this Blu-ray release. Because let's face it, Anthropophagous is a terribly boring film. First time I saw it, like I said, on the Shriek Show DVD, I fell asleep watching it. It is so incredibly slow. The opening sequence with the killing on the beach, some prints of the movie don't have that opening. And it only makes sense. I feel like that opening was added or tacked on there because the movie had no hook and it was so incredibly boring that when people first went to see this movie without that beach opening sequence, they were just incredibly bored and wanted to leave, because without that hook in the beginning, that opening sequence on the beach, this movie is incredibly boring and slow and drab and just there's nothing going on. We don't see the man-eater until about 50 minutes into the movie. Then we see who he is. Not even many killings up to that point, maybe one or two, other than what happens on the beach. Just an incredibly boring, slow movie. What this movie is most known for, I guess, is three things. This awesome cover art of a man eating his own flesh, his intestines. That's become quite iconic in the exploitation world. I don't know if this was ever in a grindhouse theater. It's ironic that this movie is not mentioned once in the 42nd Street Memories documentary on here. Anthropophagous is not mentioned in that documentary at all. Of course, the documentary wasn't made particularly for this release, because if it had been, I'm sure Callum Waddell would have squeezed in Anthropophagous somewhere. I don't even know where, or if ever this was shown in theaters. I don't know what the status of it was. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of information about this movie. The other two things that this is most known for is a scene in the movie where a pregnant woman is lying down inside like a crypt, and this man-eater comes in and pulls out her fetus. It doesn't even look like a fetus. It just looks like a big chunk of liver or something. Pulls it out and bites into it. That's one of the money shots of this movie. Had it looked like a fetus, it might have been even more effective, but it doesn't. It's strange. Why doesn't it look like that? Is that what it's supposed to be? I'm guessing so. And then, of course, the ending scene where he gets his stomach, the man-eater, gets his stomach ripped open with a pickaxe. His intestines come through. He holds them in his hands and bites into them. And that's, of course, the image you get here on the cover. Those two iconic scenes are depicted right on the back of the sleeve. You see him holding what might be the fetus of a child. There we go, we're focused in. And on the top frame, you see him biting into his own intestines. So that's what this movie is known for. Now, the movie is, like almost 90 minutes. And that's all that really happens in the movie. Now, I understand from poking around that there is an 8mm version, a 30-minute 8mm, I think, German version of this movie, which cuts down the movie to 30 minutes, which includes all the gore and stuff. That's probably a much better version of this movie, as I'm sure it cuts out all the stupid nonsense of them walking around this island where there's nobody even around, so it's not even like they're talking to anybody except each other, and walking around corridors in these old buildings, or old, like, I guess, castles or something. It is just incredibly boring. So I would have loved to see that 30-minute 8mm cut of this movie. I know that some of the imported DVDs have that in there, but they didn't include that on here. There is material that they could have included on this Blu-ray, which they just like, screw it. I guess they figured, hey, we put an hour-and-a-half documentary on there, that's good enough. So 88 Films, what's the problem? Why did you not go out and get us some special features for this movie when you could have? There's no reason for it. But I'm not done with you yet, because there's another huge problem with this movie. Now, upon watching the movie, I put the movie in, and you're watching, and you're expecting HD quality, something from a 35mm print. The back claims remastered for its worldwide HD debut, so I'm quite excited. Even it seems strange to some people. I shouldn't have to explain this. Why would I buy movies that I don't really like? Blu-rays are interesting because I like seeing these really dirty, gritty, so-called grindhouse movies, and I like seeing them in Blu-ray to see how they pop out. Like, just, I don't know. It's, I guess, the closest you're ever going to get to have been able to see that in theaters, I guess. I don't know. So I'm always curious when someone dredges up this old print of this really obscure movie and puts it on Blu-ray. I'm always curious of how good it looks. Something found from the depths of obscurity and put it into a high-definition format. I think that's very interesting. Also, I'm a film collector, so even if I don't like a movie, I think I should have it anyway, for something that I'm writing about, just for a reference, just to show somebody, if I'm talking about Joe D'Amato with someone, hey, maybe they might want to see this movie. It's going to come up in the conversation, right? So, yeah, so when I watched this movie, I put it in, and it looks like a Video Master. This is not in HD. I mean, the bit rate is in HD, the resolution is technically 1080p. There is no pop, there is no detail, this is such a soft movie, it looks like it's from a Video Master. This movie does not benefit from being on Blu-ray, in other words. You might as well just stick to the DVD. It looks terrible. I'm guessing that they found a Video Master and they used that. And they tried to create a high-def print or a high-def transfer from a videotape or something. It just looks really drab. I don't know how else to say it. It's just a really poor quality copy of this movie. Also, colors are very drab in this movie. It just helps you fall asleep, you know. When I originally watched this by Shriek Show, like I said, I fell asleep. 88 Films put no effort into this movie. They didn't try to boost the colors. They didn't try to restore it in any way. The colors are just so incredibly drab. I remember the only thing that really popping out in this movie, color-wise, were Coke cans. They're bright red. Otherwise, the movie might as well just be in black and white. You see some blood a little bit, and there's not a lot of blood in this movie, by the way. But the majority of the movie is very drab. There's just been no effort for this movie. And I feel like it's a blatant lie to people to say it's in HD. Because although technically it is in HD, the picture quality is not HD. It just looks terrible. Now the print of this movie is with the title The Savage Island, which is an English title. And it's an English opening credit sequence. So usually when I see high resolution prints, 1080p transfers of Italian movies, they have the original Italian credits because they're using the original negative. So it was kind of suspicious to me that they chose to use an English print of this movie instead of the Italian print. Again, probably because it's a Video Master that they used. Again, explain that to us, 88 Films. Why does this look terrible? I'd love to know if it was a film. It's possible. It could have been a film print, but it doesn't look like it. It looks terrible. You could have just put it on friggin' DVD, you know, and it would have looked the same. So I'm not really benefiting from this, except that it has this documentary on here. Not really happy about that. I wish that they mentioned it somewhere on here, and they don't. So I started the film with the English language version. That opening credit sequence on the beach is all in Italian. So I'm thinking, oh, did I not switch the right feature on here? Did I not set it up to play in English with, or whatever? But of course, like with previous versions of this movie, I think that opening sequence is not dubbed. They just didn't have the original dubbed material for that opening sequence, which is fine. I understand if it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. I don't expect you to go out and create it. But what you should do is have subtitles for that sequence. Where are the subtitles for that sequence? You made no effort to put subtitles for that sequence that is in Italian. Not only that, but you should have just mentioned it at least in here, that, hey, the majority of the film is in English dubbed, but the opening sequence is not. They make no effort, so when you first play it, you think there's something wrong. But there's not. They just didn't tell you that the opening sequence is in Italian. But, of course, like I said, there's no excuse for it not having subtitles. And it's funny because I want to know if I played it with the English subtitles, like, because you have an option to play the Italian version with English subtitles. I'm like, let me try that and see if there's any English subtitles for this opening sequence. There wasn't. They have subtitles for the rest of the movie. They don't have subtitles for the opening sequence. Just create them. It doesn't make sense. Like, just take some time to do it. Doesn't cost a lot of money to translate that, 5-minute opening sequence? There's not a lot of text there. You made no effort, 88 Films. You made absolutely no effort to do this film justice. And yes, I said that this is a bad film, but I think all films deserve some degree of justice. And they made no effort with this film. It's quite sad. Because I'm sure a bunch of people were excited to see this. They saw the pre-order. They pre-ordered it directly from their website. And what do they get? A video master that doesn't even look like it's in high def, with some terrible menus, which I'll show you, by the way. And doesn't have the full English subtitles. That's not cool. And like I said, it's also missing the 8mm 30-minute version of the movie. And I looked at some of the special features on like previous DVD releases, and there are bits and pieces of like deleted scenes. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they're incorporated into this cut or anything, but I feel like there could have been more work done on this. I don't know what the problem is. I think they have a lot to explain, right? So let's look at the menus for this. Alright guys, so here's the menu for Anthropophagous. Once again, 88 Films does a very crappy job here. All we get is a green menu with the logo. Are they serious? Who is putting these together? Are you really that lazy that you couldn't spice this up a little bit with the modern Blu-ray technology that we have today? We don't even get a screenshot of the movie. All we get is this logo here. I don't understand what the problem is. So let's see what we got here. We got play feature setup, English language or Italian language with English subtitles. I tried to watch the English language version with English subtitles. Wouldn't let me. I don't know if that's a thing with my Blu-ray player. I don't know. I just couldn't do it. It was irritating. Scene selection, of course, and here are the bonus features. 42nd Street Memories. That's that hour and 20-minute documentary I was talking about. The Italian opening titles. Even this opening title sequence on here looks really rough, like it's from like a video master or something. And Anthropophagous trailers. More laziness on behalf of 88 Films, where they just took maybe 3 or 4 trailers and lumped them together. I absolutely hate when they do that, because what if I just wanted to see a particular trailer? Not all of them. I gotta fast forward to all of them, or skip a chapter, or I like to select which trailer I'm about to look at. So the big ticket item here, I think, is 42nd Street Memories, but I'm pretty sure we'll see that documentary on some English or American Blu-ray release somewhere over here. Kind of like what they did with the Cannibal documentary that Cal Modell did. We ended up seeing that on the Cannibal Ferox Blu-ray. And I believe it's on the 88 Films Zombie Holocaust Blu-ray. So that's probably going to pop up elsewhere, I'm guessing, so we'll see. This is a very disappointing release, so, I mean, I would say that it's worth getting just for the 42nd Street memories, but if you're in the US like me, it's probably going to pop up on some US Blu-ray anyway, so, I don't know, maybe it's just worth holding out on. Just hold on to your Shriek Show DVD. This movie is not benefiting from Blu-ray at all. Some of the film dust on here, if you look close, there's not a lot of dust on this print. It's like a really clean print, but the little specks of dust that do appear are blurry too. So you could tell that these sharp credit sequence was put on top of an already inferior cut of the movie. Who knows what happened with this movie? I don't know. I feel like if it was not 88 Films' fault that they had to use a print that was inferior, that's fine. I mean, you gotta work with what you have. But don't be misleading and say it's an HD when the picture quality certainly does not look like an HD. Sure, technically it could be an HD. I could take any VHS tape and upconvert it to full res, but that does not mean it is an HD quality. It just means it has HD resolution, and that's the difference. This has HD resolution, but not HD quality in my opinion. And there it is, guys. Anthropophagous on Blu-ray, and it looks like crap, I'm sorry to say so. This has been Paul with VHScollector.com, and I will see you guys next time.